happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's the post-match pint here from Malone's in Glasgow. I've got Darren and Callum with me to go over. Callum, chaotic 2-2 draw. How do you assess that one today?
Probably a game of two halves. I know we spoke earlier on, and it's kind of like we've got different thoughts on it, but I'd probably say we were quite good in the first half. It took us maybe 10-15 minutes. I think both teams were kind of feeling each other, even though that sounds a bit strange saying that because we played each other so many times. But
new manager though.
We had a new manager and the momentum that Aberdeen brought into the game, and then with the international being on and back to football, it was just 10-15 minutes was a bit of Aberdeen having the ball, us having the ball, and didn't really keep it. Kind of settled into the game. Then there was an injury, an Aberdeen defender, I think, and after that we got two quick goals. Like instantly, Celtic took the game. Really good. I think the first goal was Hatate's goal.
Yep.
First goal, I think. Am I right in saying that it comes from Engels? I think Aberdeen have a corner. Is it right in saying that? And we end up.
Aberdeen have had an attack.
Aye, or we win the ball, and I'm sure Engels puts a brilliant pass. All the way down to Kyogo. Kyogo chases it because Mitov almost comes out to get it and then he backtracks. Brilliant for Kyogo's, his work ethic's brilliant all the time.
Done so well to wait though, because there was nothing on for him. See, when he first got the ball, there was nobody in the box.
Aye.
He just had to delay a
and I also think he was up against Rubicic, I think it was. It's quite a big, like the difference in height and power.
And he got it through his legs as well, didn't he?
Aye. So he ends up, Hatate, brilliant support, obviously cuts it back to him. It's a really good finish with his left foot, because that's quite easy. How many times have you seen Hatate putting it right over into like Rose Ed, and you think, oh, come on, just get over it. So he does actually really well to get to it, and then I think we score quite quickly after that as well. And Aberdeen were in a bit of trouble at that point because you could see they were vulnerable, and we were very good. We had good moments. But still in the first half, I didn't think we overly tested Mitov too much. I was thinking, oh, what a save, or oh, how's he got that? Also getting further into the game where he does kind of make that in the second half. But first half, I was thinking, right, if we can get a third, probably the game's going to be over. 2-0's always a dangerous scoreline because you know it's if one goal goes in, then the game pans out, obviously the way that it has panned out. First half, really happy. Couldn't really moan it too much on it again, but for me, the balance just isn't great with Trusty and Scales. I know he's just in the door. I know he's left-sided, but he's playing on the right side. So I know it's difficult, and we'll get into further into the game what happens. But I just feel there's a wee bit of a balance off there. When he's playing it out to Johnson, it feels like sometimes it's behind him and he's having to retrieve the ball and then turn. And when that happens in football, teams sniff that out and they end up pressing that extra 5 yards. And the game, over 10 minutes, becomes further back. And all of a sudden, you're in trouble at the back and you think, just put your foot through it, deal with it up the other end of the pitch. So, first half, but I was pretty pleased at what I had seen from the first 45 minutes.
That and I thought, Callum says probably rightly, Mitov wasn't making save after save in the first half, but I think we got into a lot of good areas, a lot of good balls across the face of the goal. So we possibly could have maybe had one more going into half time, and that's the thing that would have killed the game. And obviously, as we saw how the second half played out, Aberdeen made the changes, but 2-0 is often a precarious lead, isn't it?
Well, we talked about the way Aberdeen were going to play briefly on the video that we done on Thursday. I thought that they weren't going to be all out attack, but I thought that the confidence and the momentum and the run that they're on, they wouldn't just sit back like most teams come to Celtic Park and do. I thought they would have a bit of a go, and in the first half it was kind of right down the middle with that. They were a bit sensible in defending, but they try to have their chances as well. But getting into the second half, they made two changes, which to me it was a surprise, because if I look at Aberdeen's two key players, the first two that I think of is Kevin Nisbet and Leighton Clarkson. And I was kind of scratching my head about that, and I was thinking, okay.
If Clarkson get booked in the first half, didn't he? So maybe that was part of it.
Could have been, but normally if one of your best players are booked, you tend just to keep them on. But I seen them change that, and maybe you have to give them a wee bit of credit to that, because 2-0 going in at half time was probably deserved. I would say, like you said there, we could have maybe even got a third, but it felt very comfortable at half time. Don't say we were dominating, because we weren't, but we got our chances and we took two of them, and I was very comfortable at half time. They made those subs. I'm not going to say like those two subs completely changed the game, but it just done enough for them to get back in the game. I thought we dominated for. Dominates, I take that back. Dominate's a strong word. I thought we were very controlling for, I would say, 65-70% of that game. There was a 15-20 minute spell from when we conceded the first goal to the moment they scored the disallowed goal. I thought we just looked very stunned, like just on the ropes at that point.
Yeah.
And nervy is a perfect word. I thought when that goal got chopped off, there was a big roar from the crowd, and I felt the momentum swing for there. And I genuinely felt at that point that we were going to go on and win the game. And we had those chances, but I don't want to say like, oh, we just didn't take those chances and we weren't good enough, because we've won 7 out of 7 and we've drawn 1. It's not the end of the world. I thought we could have won the game. Obviously there's talking points like, should we have had a penalty in the last minute? Forrest had a really good chance. Ida had a really good chance, which the keeper makes a fantastic save. It's just one of those days in football where you throw everything at it in the last couple of minutes, and unfortunately the goal just doesn't come. It's not bad luck. It's just a day in football, I think.
Aye, Callum, I think in the first half Aberdeen were quite, in that early period of the game, they weren't coming up and pressing really high, but they were being very vigilant in midfield. Every time the ball came into Hatate or McGregor in midfield, Shinnie or Nelson was right up against them, trying not to let them turn. In fact, the boy Nelson was on Hatate's back about 3 times in the first half, trying to give him a piggyback. But they were aggressive in midfield, but we did have control of the game, as Darren says. I just think with the changes that they made, I think Duke obviously brings them a different sort of threat in terms of the pace in behind. Sokler as well. I think the difference for us is we just dropped off a wee bit. I think you see it happen in football all the time with 2-0 leads, as I've just mentioned, but I heard Brendan Rodgers after the game and he says we were far too passive, and it's a great ball. I think it's for McGrath into Sokler for the first goal. Good goal from Aberdeen's point of view, but for us there's 3 or 4 passes happening, there's no pressure on the ball, and we defend quite high as a team. We defend quite high, we're at home, and if you defend high and there's no pressure on the ball, you're asking for trouble.
I actually can't really remember how it came to McGrath. I'd need to watch it back because I've not seen it, but I just remember McGrath, I'm behind the goal so I can see his number, and then he just has the freedom of Celtic Park to turn, to be able to look up, then to actually run, and then to play a pass, and it plays a great weighted pass on it to Sokler. And fair play to Sokler because he actually does a really good finish. I thought it went wide, but it just goes right into the corner. And at that point, and the 2 goals happening in the space of 10 minutes, you could feel that was happening. And personally for me, that I think Rodgers had to change when it went 2-1. And that's not in retaliation or a panic mode. They're going, oh my God, we're 2-1. Of course 2-1 can happen. Aberdeen are a good side. They've proved that they're a good side. They can get goals. But at that time, the first 5 minutes, it never really went our way. And sometimes you just have a feeling of football, and I would expect Rodgers to have that feeling more than me, because I'm just your typical Celtic fan that goes to football. I'm not experienced anywhere near what he is, so I thought he would have got it, because I felt a lot of people around me understood what was happening, but yet the manager didn't really seem to kind of change. And Darren touched a great point, is Jimmy Tillene actually makes the change at half time, and I kind of laughed at my wee brother and says, mate, they've took Nisbet off. What is he doing? That's why I'm not a manager, and I get that, I'm fine with that. But that's why he's making the big decisions, and he got Aberdeen right into the game. He took Clarkson off, he took Nisbet off, he gets Sokler on. I don't know who the other boy he brings on. It was Duke. It was Duke. But that gave them a new impetus up front. It gave them something different that Celtic couldn't deal with at that time. And they get the 2 goals, and it's really frustrating when you're 2-0 up at home. You concede 2 goals. And again, I'll touch on it moderately quickly, right? And that's hard for me, right? But Nick Walsh today. Now we've not won the game and we've not lost the game, right? So it's not like I'm throwing my toys at the pram and complaining. I know the refs are poor in this country, they're part-time, so they're going to be poor, right? Pay for what you get, right? Which is part-time refs. But the boy, is it Nielsen, right? He fouls Hatate 4 times. Nick Walsh goes over to him and says, one there, one more, and you're booked. They're all the same foul in about a 15-minute period in the first half. He just pulls Hatate back. Now, to me, the rules are that you're on a yellow card. He then, on the second half, maybe first 10-15 minutes, gets booked for the exact same thing. But he just needs to make it more clearer, going, I'll actually hold you back and not let you go this time. And then he books him, and everyone just has this kind of laugh and a chuckle, because it's not even a laugh at the player. Fair play for trying to get away with it and taking the referee as a mug. But the referee gets conned, and the biggest thing in football, we talk about this quite often, right, when we travel to games and stuff, but we said, what's the most frustrating thing in football? I'll tell you what mine is, right, is when players go off and they walk and the ref goes 60 yards, busts a gut, says, hurry up, player jogs for a second, slows back down again and walks again, claps all the fans, and the ref does nothing. I would rather just be honest and be like Celtic fans moan, be like, and what?
He also booked Callum McGregor for, I think it was his first foul.
I
would need to see it back, because I only seen it in real time, but it was a foul, but I don't think it warranted a yellow card. And then also you have the moment where the Aberdeen player, I don't know which one, gets injured, basically on the advertisement board off the pitch, and there's this big, probably 2 or 3 minute pause. When he's off the pitch,
somebody off the Aberdeen bench.
He ended up, I think he ended up booking the manager as well, and it wasted so much time. So
That's what I mean. Like, I'm quite glad sometimes that this game wasn't shown on TV, because the ref would have been at League One at this rate. And I'm hoping that someday, and you see Willie Collins.
To be fair, I think it was a cracking game. If it was a neutral watching it, I think it was a cracking game. They wouldn't be talking about the ref.
Brilliant game.
They might have commented saying, "Oh, it's not a great ref," but they wouldn't have been the talking point.
Where I'm going to show you is that, again, we've not won or we've not lost, so we're 6 points clear of obviously Rangers, and obviously we're drawing with Aberdeen at the time. But what I will say is, in the first half, Clarkson makes one foul on Alex Valley away up in Celtic's own half. It's no danger zone to Aberdeen, and he just clips him by accident. Referee runs over, books him. He's just out of control. The ref doesn't know what he's doing. But Nielsen makes 4 pullbacks, not one booking, but he's booking Clarkson for a little clip, because Valley shifts the ball really quickly, and that happens. Football's a contact sport. I just felt the ref was way under it today. He get caught, and that's not because Celtic have dropped points. Like, we will drop points. I don't expect Celtic to win every single game. It's very rare that it happens. But what I do expect is a referee kind of to get the fundamental basics correct in important times, and Nielsen probably should have been off the pitch.
You're defending Clarkson, so we know you're not biased.
Mate, exactly, mate.
Darren, there was a lot of added time in the game, and rightly so, because for about 73, 74 minutes onwards, there was a lot of Aberdeen players down with cramp. The goalkeeper was taking his time on the ball. There was lots of substitutes, as Callum says, walking off. You maybe expect that Aberdeen coming to Celtic Park with a point to cling on to. You said the disallowed goal. I think we invited that on ourselves, because Casper takes too long on the ball. We end up giving a foul away right in the corner, and then again I actually had a feeling that with that free kick I was like, this is so self-inflicted, this situation, and then it ends up getting in the net, but it's ruled out for a handball. And I think from that point you're right to say we did take the momentum back in the game, and I think from there until deep into that added time we did have plenty of chances. If you look at the stats for the game, we've hit 30 odd shots but only 5 in target, and I had that feeling a wee bit. Even though Mitov does make a couple of saves towards the end, and we have the big chance that will come to with the penalty shout in a minute, there was a lot of like wayward shots over the bar, and maybe taking shots and not in the right situation at times. I thought we were a wee bit rash at times.
Aye, but it kind of got to that point where it's the last 10-15 minutes, and when the game's in the balance, you start making impulsive decisions that you don't normally make. You start doing things that isn't part of the game plan, just to try and make that difference when it comes to nicking the goal. I thought when Rodgers brought Forrest on for Maeda, and I thought it was the right decision, because Maeda did have a really poor game.
Looked tired, didn't he?
He did look tired, but Forrest, you don't want to give him too much stick, because there's nothing wrong with taking a shot, and he was cutting inside a lot, and he was taking shots, but unfortunately they were.
It's poor technique. He was leaning back a couple of times.
He was leaning back. I think one actually nailing out for a throw in, and then he had the one. I think it was an overlap from Alistair Johnson. He gets the ball in, and if he hits it left or right at the goalkeeper, it's in. But unfortunately, hits it right at the goalkeeper, and it does just come down to taking chances. But it's a pressure environment when you do get away with one, in terms of you get away from going a goal down, and then I need to give the fans a bit of credit for that, because I was really shocked at the reaction I seen from that when the screen went up to say disallowed goal. It was almost like we had scored. It was like the fans were up on their feet applauding the team, and that was a big difference in the swing of the game. But it is just those moments in football. I don't fault the team for trying, because they were getting themselves into those positions. Obviously, when you get to the last 10 minutes, Aberdeen do settle for a point, and it is just kind of penned in their area, try to make those chances. And it is just bad luck. I mean, Ida should score the header, and it's a great save by the goalkeeper, and some of those things you just can't avoid. There's the chance right at the end, obviously Alistair Johnson, I think it's a corner. Forrest hits it, and it's going far away, and Johnson's just there to tap it in, beats the goalkeeper. And I'm sure we're going to have a big discussion about this over the next 5 minutes, whether it's a handball or not. But unfortunately, Duke does block it. If it's not a handball, it's a great block. You see the Aberdeen players, they're all celebrating that as if they had scored. I thought it was in as well. It's gutting, but on any other day I think we do score a third goal, because we've seen it so many times over the years when Celtic are in those last 10 minutes at Celtic Park and the fans are cheering them on. Usually we do get that last goal. Unfortunately, the way football works, you're not always going to get that. Like Callum says, we can't win every single game, and we're not going to complain that we don't win every single game. This is a game we've drawn against the team who have won the same amount of games as us, same points. Very, very good team. So unfortunately, we just need to take my medicine and accept that today was a draw. It wasn't our day.
Yeah. Callum was an action-packed second half. We've already done the full-time reaction. Actually forgot about the disallowed goal. I've not seen this back either, but I knew at the time that if anybody had even went within touching distance of the goalkeeper, it was going to be a foul. I think it's Ida that knocks it in, but is it Johnston that does the foul? I mean, it's a total freak incident because I think the Aberdeen player just blasts it into Kuhn and it goes up and it looks like it's actually going to make the goal, and it's right on top of the goalkeeper.
That is a foul.
Looked like a foul at the time, but then, as Darren says, we come to the big moment right at the end where, I mean, it happens that quickly. It's Ida's header, comes back out. Kuhn does really well. He takes it on the chest, nips in front of Aberdeen defender, takes it in the chest, gets it to the back post, comes to Forrest. Forrest hits a sort of half volley down on his right foot, and it comes into Johnston, and you think he's just going to smash it in. And Duke makes the block. At the time, it's impossible to tell at the time because it happened that quickly, whether it was a handball or not. We've seen some clips back now. There is a clip from behind the goal that looks like it did hit his hand. Give your thoughts on it.
Oh, I've got a few points on it.
We're here all night. We're here all night.
Right, sit down if you're not already. Right, honestly, right.
Got another beer.
Aye, the first time I seen it, you just scream handball, right? That's just a normal
an instinctive reaction
of a fan at any club, right? Any club, we all scream for penalties, right? But now that I've seen it back, I'm just glad that I know what Aberdeen can do once their football career finishes, because they're a great panto team. For me, it's a penalty, and the way that he kids on and they hug each other like, what a save! One, if the ball hits you that fast in your midriff area, you're winded, you're lying on the floor, jumping through balloons, going, oh, come on! Going mental, right? Hoops, meant to say hoops, sorry, right? That's how enraged I am with this decision. For the video I've seen, it hits his hand. That's not a deliberate handball, because it hits him so quick, right? But I thought if it hits your hand, it's down to your side. The video I've seen, his hand gets swung back so quickly that his hand just goes like that to almost take it away. But I think it hits him. Again, I've only seen it on Twitter, right? So I can look back at this and be like, oh, it does hit him in the midriff. Like maybe he's just get great abs and he doesn't feel it. Whatever, right? I don't know. But for me, it definitely hits him in that hand. It's not deliberate, but it stops the ball from going into the goal. Now, we've seen that one with John Suter. He never got booked against Hibs because Butland was behind it and he would have saved it, or they thought he would have saved it anyway. Nobody was saving this one. It was going in the net. But the thing you've not even touched on about, the most frustrating thing was he gives the corner. He points to the corner. He says, hold on, before you take the corner, I must talk to my other friends. Is it? No. Oh, game's a bogey.
Well,
see you later.
About a minute.
It takes about a minute. So he takes our time off us so these clowns can make a decision. And I guarantee you next month, and I actually really enjoy it, right? And I'm going to get caned, but I quite enjoy the VAR review panel with Willie Collum. I think he's quite honest and he tries to make the game better. And people can say what they want, right? But that's just my opinion. I quite enjoy what I see. But you're so in tuned nowadays to think that if VAR says no at the time, it can't be. It just can't be. VAR's looked at it. I watched the last VAR a couple of days ago. They get about 3 of them wrong. Went, we'll try and get better. Like, fair dues, he's being honest. But that's why I came back from today and going, maybe it wasn't a penalty because VAR said it wasn't. Just because VAR says it wasn't a penalty doesn't mean that it's not. Guess who was on VAR? Greg Aitken. Same guy that was against Kilmarnock when Roland McCrory smashed Kyogo. I think he just stood in the way. It's the same geezer. So I'm not going to go until I go home tonight and say, it wasn't a penalty, like it was a good thing or whatever. Greg Aitken can't be trusted in big games. This was the top game in Scotland. First against second place. And they'll still be first and second place by tomorrow, regardless. It was a top class, and we had amateur people running it. That's the reality. And again, I've not seen it, but take away from all that and what I've said about the bookings and the time wastings and everybody lying down. Again, Dan makes a great point. Whoever it was, maybe Bizarwin, his name is, get put into the Alex Valley, just shoulder tackled him. And I've never seen that stop before. And we had to all stop for him to get treated. Then the manager was playing like, I don't know, like guess who? Like what one is it? Is it the one with the beard or the long hair? Like who's getting booked? Took 3-4 minutes to decide. And then Celtic take the quick free kick, as you can call it, quick.
Pulls it back.
And the boy just runs straight on the pitch without the ref going, come back on. You've been treated, you've been off the pitch. And just runs on and the ref's getting no clue. And that's what I mean with amateur hour. It was just a shambles. again, not taking anything away from Aberdeen, because Aberdeen were actually worthy of their 2 goals when they came at us. Again, so that's fair dues to them. Again, we can't win every game, that's fine, I'm not moaning at that. I just kind of want a game and the refs to be a little bit better in this country at crucial times, and I think that it is a handball. That's my opinion on it.
Aye, Dan, I think it could have been. Aside for that, made a lot of subs in the game. I actually think Luke McCowan helped us.
I was going to talk about him.
He got in some good areas. He was making forward runs, getting a couple of good crossing areas, and just there was blocks made that he just couldn't quite make the final pass. But I thought he helped us. Bernardo came on. I think it's maybe Bernardo's corner that Ida gets a header from, and it kickstarts that chaotic period. We go into Tuesday. Cameron Carter-Vickers didn't play. It's Wednesday, sorry. Carter-Vickers didn't play today. It's a huge blow for us, and I think we look much more vulnerable without him. And I think we could all say that Trusty hasn't convinced anybody so far. The thing I would say though is if you put him next to Carter-Vickers, he'd probably look a better player than he looks without him. And as Callum says, having 2 left-sided centre halves, when you receive the ball, you want to be opening up onto your stronger foot, but he is opening up onto his weaker foot, and it doesn't help us building out. And there was a really nervy period of the game where he struggled today, but that's a big concern for us going into Wednesday. I mean, even with Carter-Vickers, these European away ties are really difficult, as we just saw a couple of weeks ago, but it's a huge one on Wednesday defence for us, isn't it?
We spoke after Dortmund briefly about Trusty, and I said it was quite unfair for him to get judged in this environment, because I think that might have been, like, I don't know if it was his first start, or I know it wasn't his first appearance, but I think it might have been second start, and it's really hard to be thrown into that environment. And unfortunately, when I think someone mentioned this on the channel before, if Trusty was coming in for Liam Scales, there would be a lot less scrutiny on him. But because he's coming in for Carter-Vickers, who I've said before I think is the best centre-back we've had since Virgil van Dijk, he's always going to be compared to him. And when you're being compared to Carter-Vickers, who's so good, there's always going to be a bit of criticism put your way. And I thought today it wasn't bad, but there was moments, particularly in the second half, where if it was either Duke or any other attacking Aberdeen players running one-on-one with him, it was standing so far off him, and that to me says that's like a confidence thing to me. It's like he's scared to get tight on his man in case his man gets past him, and that's only normal because maybe he's probably seen some of his feedback that he's had from fans saying that he's not convinced by his performance. So unfortunately, we are going up against Europa League winners, and realistically our result is going to be difficult, and if we do concede a few goals, it's just going to put another microscope under the defence, because as Callum said, we've got 2 left-sided players there. It's even harder for Trusty being the left-sided player on the right-hand side. It's quite similar to when Carl Starfelt was playing with Carter-Vickers and he was on the left side. He took a lot of stick for that, especially his distribution, because as you said, he was always getting that ball on the wrong side, so he had to take that extra touch to get it on his right foot, and even just that half second can allow a team to mark a man, and then you need to either go back to your goalkeeper and it just takes the momentum away. So you can't put too much stress on him. And then going back to your question, you touched about the subs coming on. Luke McCowan, I thought he was very positive, trying to go forward, always showing for the ball. We took runs at the defenders. Arnie Engels was a bit of a passenger today, unfortunately. Again, not to say he had a bad game. It was that pass to Kyogo in the first half for the goal was magnificent, and then I think it was the right decision to take him off for. I think he came off for McCowan or Bernardo. I think he came off for Bernardo, and then Hatate came off for McCowan. I thought Rodgers made the right decisions doing those things, but unfortunately it just didn't make any difference to the scoreline. Bernardo was influential in some aspects to taking the corners. I actually thought he should have hit that free kick he had at the edge of the box.
That was something I wanted to touch on, that free kick.
Aye.
I hate it, and a free kick in the edge of the box, I hate it when they shift it.
The only reason I think they've done that is because it's so close to the goal.
Trying to get a better angle.
And obviously it's too close to the goal to get it up and over the wall. For me, I always like to see, if it's on that side, a right-footed player to either curl it or put it through the goalkeeper's side. But in real time I seen it. It was basically you had the wall of 4 players, and then you basically had like the rest of the Aberdeen players making a separate wall. So a shot then was almost impossible to try and get past, and then laying off to either kind of led to the corner, and then
I would have preferred Bernardo to hit it. I don't even,
I would,
regardless
I
of whether
agree.
you're shifting it or taking it.
I was the same.
I'd have preferred Bernardo to strike it. I don't know why Ida was the player striking it.
I was the same.
Ida doesn't strike me as somebody that's like
A set piece expert.
set PCs or like even strikes from outside the box and stuff. You don't get that sort of vibe feeder. Maybe they've just went for power, but it certainly didn't come off for us, Callum. Will you be watching Wednesday from behind the couch?
We should go down for that question.
I'll probably be watching in the stadium for between my fingers.
Oh man, I could think of so many things I could do in Italy, by the way, apart from watch that game. And I know that's been like unfair to the team, but the reality is Europa League winners for a reason. Only team to beat Bayer Leverkusen last year. They're a very serious side, and we can't take league form. I'm not taking any league form against any European team serious, because Dortmund have shown it. 2-1 to Union Berlin after beating us 7-1. Just scraping by St. Pauli, who've been promoted. How are they just beating teams like that and losing to teams like Berlin, but then turning us 7-1? So if Atalanta get beat tomorrow 6-7-8-0, I don't care. I don't care, because we could take a 7 or 8-0 genuinely. It's going to be really tough. I just don't see how we get a result there. I honestly don't, and I know that sounds so bad and not optimistic, but with the back line, 3 of them being left-sided, there's just a balance I can't accept. It doesn't function properly, and I can't see how we get around that situation. I can just see in my nightmares Lookman pressing us in between Trusty and Johnson, if this is Johnson and Trusty, Lookman sitting right here and just running on the shoulder of 2 of them, almost leaning on Trusty because he knows he's going to take longer to turn and get into that space. And you want obviously closer to the goal where Trusty would be than Johnson would be out wide. I can see it already, and I'm terrified of it. But it's just, I don't know, it's a hard one because we've got hard games. We've also got Motherwell away coming back from that, and Motherwell, apart from today, they lost Dundee, but it's the first loss they've had.
Cost me £300.
Doing good form.
They've lost this season, the first game they've lost this season at home, so that was obviously going to be a hard game, and we've got a couple of games coming up as well, but look, we just need to take our time on it. I get that Greg Taylor's out, I get Carter Vickers is out, so that's half your defence. 50% of your defence is already out. That starts every week, so you're going to have vulnerable moments, but my God, good luck on Wednesday, mate, like honestly, because that's a hard one.
I will need it. That's it for the post-match pint. We'll be back with you for the build-up to that game in Italy on Wednesday. Thank you for watching.